updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Paying for people to move to Illinois. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here. Chris Kroc in for Dan Proft this week. Thanks for coming in, partner. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
So I'm at the gym a few weeks ago, and my friend Bob came up to me and said, "Oh, did you hear blah, blah, blah? They're moving back from Ohio to Illinois. And get this, they're paying off his student loans." And I said, "Oh, no, do tell." The guy graduated from Bowling Green, owes $60,000 in student loans. He and his wife are having a baby, so they naturally want to move back to Illinois so that they could have, the grandparents and the family around. So they were looking for houses, and their realtor and their mortgage guy told them, "Hey, you know what? Illinois will pay $40,000 off of your student loan if you buy a house, get a mortgage in the state of Illinois." And I couldn't believe it. My jaw was, because I knew we were paying for illegals to move here and then giving them driver's license and eventually social security cards, and eventually they can vote. But I didn't know we were paying fellow Americans to move into the state of Illinois. So naturally, I called the best mortgage guy in the world, and that is David Hochberg, Vice President of Lending of Team Hochberg at Homeside Financial. And David, do you remember when I called you and I said, "Is this a real thing?" And what was your response?
Yeah, it's a real thing, and but the money ran out quick, and I said, "Are you okay?" Because I never heard you work out that angrily before, so I just wanted to make sure I did a health and wellness check.
Well, but here's the thing, though: are our tax dollars paying for my friend's son to move back to Illinois and pay off his student loan, or is there some other program that's funding this?
Well, here, there's a grant that usually runs out within 2 months, and it did this year. It was House Smarts. Is what they call it. It's through the Illinois Housing Development Authority. To be honest with you, I have no idea where they get all this money to do all these programs. They've got down payment assistance programs for borrowers with 640 minimum credit scores and meet income qualifications to get $5,000, $7,500, and $10,000 down payment assistance to cover the down payment and to cover the closing costs. And they came out with this House Smarts program, guys, a couple of years back, and it usually runs out within 60 days, and do tell it did run out this year within 60 days. It's like you said, you had to pay off up to $40,000 in student loans, and you have to pay them off in full. It can't, if your friend had a $60,000 student loan.
He did, yes.
He wouldn't be, okay, well then he would have had to pay it down to $40,000 in order to get it paid off and extinguished at the closing. Listen, it's crazy, but these are the programs that the state comes out with, and we offer it. Don't shoot the messenger here. We're just here.
I know, but so SmartBuy first launched in 2022. Get this: 631 individuals and families bought new homes using SmartBuy. The state helped people pay down $17 million in student debt. So clearly we're that desperate for residents, since we're hemorrhaging them to red states where the taxes are lower. There's no state income tax. I know Utah right now is considering eliminating their state income tax, and we are probably thinking about raising ours.
Yeah, well, Utah. Utah's a beautiful place to go. It's got low taxes. Businesses are booming. People are flying in there. Residents from California are moving out of the California market, out of the state all entirely, and moving to Utah and Idaho and Montana, and all those real estate values have shot up. So it's not only paid down, we paid off. I mean, completely paid off some resident student loans that qualified. So you have winners and losers, and I guess if you have student loans, they're doing everything they can to try to get those out of the way so people moving to Illinois or people in Illinois could buy homes. I'm
David,
not a big fan of it, but again.
David, it's Chris.
Yes, sir.
I got to ask you, what is the root of this problem? And and some might laugh at this, depends on how much your student loans are. I owe nothing. I was a fool. I thought I was supposed to pay back things, so my wife and I paid off ours way back when.
You could have moved to Illinois, and we would have paid them off for you.
I know. I would have never paid. But, of course, it'd be like 20 years later or something by now. I don't know what. But what is the root
you
of
want
this
to know what the root of the problem is?
Yes,
Here,
and will a small – I'll say it this way, because if you move from another state into Illinois and you move your entire family and your household, will a small temporary incentive actually lure people in? And I know it might be laughable if you owe $40,000 in loans, but in the end, I still got to live there for I don't know how long. But go ahead, sir.
Well, it's helped some. I'm sure some of the 640-some people that Amy mentioned were moving in, and it definitely helped them qualify. You move here. If you paid off a $40,000 student loan, the typical monthly payment on a $40,000 student loan is you're probably looking at close to $700-800 a month, right? So $700-800 a month in this market is $100,000 worth of mortgage payments. Okay, the root cause of the problem, Chris, is that we've given money out like drunken sailors give out whiskey. Like we just give people out. When I do a loan for somebody, Chris, I have to show an ability to repay.
Right.
The borrower has to show the ability to repay. That came out of Dodd-Frank. We have to show that there's actually income, there's assets, and there's some ability to repay. When you get a 30-year fixed loan or any type of Fannie Mae, any type of Fannie Freddie FHA VA loan, you have to show an ability to repay. That just came out of Dodd-Frank. But when you're 18 years old kid and you have no idea what's going on and you don't know which way is up and you're going to have 15 different things that you're going to do in the next 4 years when you go to college, because you're going to start at liberal arts, you're going to go to business, you're going to be an astronaut. You don't know what the hell you're going to do. We're going to load them up with 20 to 25, $250,000 to $300,000 worth of student loan debt. And we're going to saddle their parents with the same BS. We're just going to let the money flow through an 84-inch water main. Right? Kind of like in the subprime market is. And what happened when everything shut down in 07 and 08 when the money started stopping? We had a major correction. I've been saying this on the radio for the past 20 years. These no-good bastards that are letting this money flow like crazy is the reason why student education costs are out of freaking control. Yes. You've got universities like the University of Illinois and University of Wisconsin. You've got Harvard. You've got Michigan. You've got all these gigantic universities with billions of dollars worth of endowments, charging $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 for these kids to go to school. I was at the Hawks game last night with my suite, entertaining a group of folks, and one guy's like, "Yeah, my kid's looking at Vanderbilt." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're going to need a second mortgage on your house for that. That's $80,000 to $100,000
a year." Right.
Okay.
Well, how did the heck did this happen? Because when I went to Iowa, it was 7,000, 8,000 out of state. Now it's 60,000 out of state.
Nobody wants to touch the third rail. Okay, you want to send Doge into something? Send Eli and his band of whoever the hell they are into the college education financing program, and let's start putting some common sense into there. Okay, I mean, I walk onto these universities. There's new buildings going up everywhere. My daughter's a sophomore, Amy, at the University of Iowa. Right, beautiful campus. Right, everything. There's buildings going up left and right. I'm like, I'm not knocking the University of Iowa. Right, it's a great campus. My daughter's getting a great education, but it's like the money that's being spent on absolute BS. And instead of knocking down the cost of education that gets passed on to the kid, that gets passed on to the parents. So you want the root cause, Chris? There's the root cause. And nobody wants to step on it because it's a freaking money train for all of these no-good bastard elected officials, because they got money going back into those universities that vote for them and give them huge donations. That's the root cause of the problem.
Because they keep upping how much you can borrow year after year, and there's a proportionate amount of increase in tuition based on how much the levels are raised every single year. John Stossel did something on this several years ago. But here's the thing: two questions for you. And by the way, a comment, Bob, the friend, your friend Amy, Bob, he was already moving here. Is what I heard from your friend at the workout place. So he's already moving here. He's like, oh. Hey, I found
the realtor let him know.
How many of these people, here's my question, David, twofold. How many of these people are already moving here anyways and go, oh, look at that? And second of all, if I move back to my home state of Illinois, and I went to Western Illinois University, it was $8,000 a year for everything when I went in the mid-'90s. If I move back, how soon can I leave to escape the high taxes that I'll end up paying all that money back anyways and regulations, et cetera?
Well, here, it wasn't... it wasn't attracting new people. I mean, Amy's friend just happened to take advantage of this program, and he was moving back. There's hundreds of people that are. I would say, I would have to guess, Amy and Chris, if I had to say out of the 640, whatever there was, I'd say more than 90% of those people already lived in Illinois. All right, that were trying to buy a home, because we have a bunch of borrowers that went through the program the first 2 months of the year when the funds were still there. Okay, and so I don't know if it's necessarily an incentive to bring people back to Illinois. It's just an incentive to help those homeowners or potential homeowners that have got student loans that are blocking their ability. The thought process is, right, that student loan is blocking your ability
to own a house.
Home.
Yep.
Okay. This guy's moving back anyway, it sounds like. It sounds like from what you're telling me, that he probably had the means and didn't need the $40,000 to pay off. But, hey, if the 40 G's is on the table and you qualify, you're going to let it sit there? No. You're going to take the 40
It's just printing money. That's all.
Right. So here's the deal. The program's open to first-time and repeat home buyers.
Repeat. Yeah.
Eligible applications must have at least $1,000 and no more than $40,000 in student debt. And the state will pay off participant student loans in full. Partial repayment is not an option.
Right.
I mean, this is like winning the lotto.
Well, yeah, but again, you could have more than $40,000. That's not accurately, that's not factually accurate. What you say? I just want to clarify it. You have to pay off student loans up to $40,000, and it has to be in full, right? So again, if you have two $20,000 loans, they'd pay those off. If you've got a $60,000 student loan, you'd have to pay that 60 down to 40, and then they'll pay off the 40. The student loan's got to be gone by the when you close, and it gets paid at the closing. So I just wanted to clarify that. You also need a minimum of 640 credit scores, and there's a couple other income. It's like you said, there's income requirements. So here, it's I don't know where the money's coming from, to be honest with you. I don't know if they got a grant from the state. I don't know if the state is budgeting it, but here, the flip side is, there are a ton of people out there that got PPP money that shouldn't have got PPP money.
Yep.
We just have a rampant problem here with free money. Okay, we just have and you want to know why had the inflation, during the Biden administration? Okay, it's because we dumped $4 trillion or $5 trillion into the economy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's not. I mean,
and the Inflation Explosion Act.
Of course. Well, that didn't help either. Okay, so and that just added, and that was a cherry on top of it. And all the business owners out there, and this is what pisses me off. All the business owners out there, that listen to the station, other station that I'm friends with, they're like, oh yeah, we shouldn't give money away. Da 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 da. Yeah, you guys buckled up to the bar and got your
got their drink on,
hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you drank out of the same trough. Just shut your mouth. You got the same money, and you didn't put it into your business. You put it into your payroll department when you guys were crushing it during COVID, and you took that check. So don't give me your BS either about this stuff. We got a rampant problem, and you know what? Why don't you give that money back and stop firing on these people that took the 600 people that took the money when you're taking hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep your business going. That was perfectly running fine during COVID, and you didn't need the money, but you went and got that money just like these people are getting the money. And listen, it's wrong all the way around, so I'm firing on everybody, and that's why we're in the problem that we're at. Okay,
right.
So, it is what it is. If you've got a chance to pay off $40,000 worth of student loans, again, I'm not a big fan of the program, but, if you got a chance to do it, what, are you not going to take it? I mean, and if you say yes, you're lying.
Well, and it opens up again at the beginning of the year. They reset on January 1st.
They reset, yeah, every year. Okay.
So don't move until January 1st, but move right away at 12:01 a.m. on January 1st and pay off everything except for make it $40,000, even not $40,001, not $40,001. So you pay it off.
No.
Yes, and then you go easy street, and you have somebody print.
Yeah.
You have our government print more money to put on the back of our debt, our deficit, our children. Everything, and then we'll pay for you,
but
even though you don't need the money.
Yeah, problem is you have to live in Illinois. All right, David Hochberg, let me ask you another question. Mortgage rates.
That's one of the requirements.
That's one of the requirements. The summers are okay, the winters are brutal.
Right.
But spring is the worst because it's one day it'll snow, next day it's 70, so whatever.
Hey, at least you have a spring. Ours is 1 or 2 weeks long.
Yeah. He's living in Dallas, David. All right. Mortgage rates.
I'll hold a cup for you at the bottom of the off ramp.
I mean, you got me the best mortgage rate back in the day. 2.75, 30-year fixed. That's why I don't want to move, even though I want to move. But
The golden cuffs.
So what are we looking at and project the future for the next year for a 30-year fixed?
We saw a little bit of dip. This tariff talk is freaking the people out. I mean, we had it's typically when you're running out of stocks, you're putting into the safety of bonds, and it drops the yields down. We get lower rates. That happened at the end of last week when I'm watching CNBC here as we're talking. The 10-year is over 4 again, which doesn't help out. So what's happening is, and just reading and listening over the weekend of what's going on, trying to figure it out. People are running out of stocks and keeping it in cash. I mean, they used to put it into bonds, but they're freaked out about bonds too for some reason. So the tariff talk is not good for inflation. The consumer pays for it, no matter what anybody wants to tell you, and whatever cup of Java juice you're drinking out of, you are going to be paying more, and inflation is not good for interest rates. So, we're just in a big drunken dreidel spinning out of control here, and we don't know exactly what's going on, and even the financial experts don't know what's going on, which makes it more confusing. Bitcoin's down to 77,000. The Dow's off and everything, and you got the 10-year going up. So typically, Amy and Chris, when there's a huge market sell-off, it's usually good for mortgages because people take money out of stocks and put it into bonds, and it drives the yields down, which translate into lower interest rates for the 30-year fix. But that's not really happening right now. So, this is a new world order here. So we're trying to figure it out like everybody else, and we'll keep you posted as we know more.
Fun times. David Hochberg, how can people reach you if they want you to do their mortgage or just for any other questions in general?
Yeah, or interpersonal relationship.
Exactly.
Advice.
Love.
Yeah, because I'm really good at that.
Yes. Oh, no, actually, you are really good at that. If you're getting a divorce, you're very pragmatic and all about business. So I appreciate that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we had those consultations.
Yes,
855-563-2843. 85. I'm like, put the tissue down and pay attention. Let's go. 855-563-2843, or go to 56david.com.
56david.com. David Hochberg, Vice President of Lending at Team Hochberg at Homeside Financial. David, always a pleasure, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity, guys. Have a great week.
You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
If the amazing regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics provided relief for former pro football player Bobby Carpenter, imagine the potential for your aching joints.
So my knee had been bothering me for a while. I played football for a number of years. I looked at talking to some doctors when I need to potentially have surgery, and I decided hey, let's check out QC Kinetics. I go in there and they look at the knee. Hey, here's the program that we can put you through.
That treatment takes your body's own healing properties and concentrates them at the root of the pain. No surgery or downtime.
The best part was there's no recovery until one day I felt like, hey, this feels like my old self again. I feel better. It's helped me. It's helped my dad. Hopefully it will help you in the same way. My message to them is do not wait. So you can go out and play golf and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Take it from Bobby Carpenter. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase